Good morning, students. Say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students. So take your social science book and come to page number 184. So today we will discuss about wind. So what is a wind? The horizontal movement of air along the surface of the earth is called as wind. So the horizontal movement of air. So then what is the vertical movement of air? It was called as air current. So the horizontal movement of the air along the earth surface is called as wind, while the vertical movement of air is called as air current. So the wind, it always blow from high pressure area to low pressure area. So wind that blows from high pressure area to low pressure area. So wind, so they are mostly named after the direction from which it blows. So the name of the wind is given after the direction from which it blows. So from the direction which it flows, the name was given. So say for example, so the wind that blows from the east is known as the easterly wind or easterlies. So the wind that blow from east is known as easterly wind or easterlies. So today we will discuss about the four major types of wind. So the types of wind and in the world, so where it blows. So we will discuss in this video. So wind, so nothing but the horizontal movement of air along the surface of the earth. So just to recall what we have discussed in our previous class. So in our previous class we have discussed about the factors that influence weather and climate. So first we saw the difference between weather and climate. So weather, so nothing but the study of atmospheric condition for short duration in a small area. So climate study as average weather condition, observed over longer period from larger area. So weather, a day-to-day atmospheric condition. So climate, so average weather condition over a period of year. Then we discussed about the factors so that influence weather and climate. So what are the factors that influence weather and climate? Distance from the equator, altitude, nearness to the sea, nature of the prevailing wind, mountain barrier, cloud cover, ocean current, natural vegetation. So these are the factors that influence weather and climate. So today's class we will discuss about wind. So wind. So how can you measure the speed of the wind and the direction of the wind? There are two instruments. So first one, anemometer. So anemometer records the speed of the wind. So anemometer which is used to record the wind speed. So often in news, especially the meteorology news. So you heard so that the direction of the wind, so the speed of the wind is 70 km per hour, 80 km per hour. So like that they will say so how can they tell? So what was the instrument used by them? It was anemometer. And wind vane, so it is used to measure the direction of the wind. So often you can heard so that the cyclones direction, so moving direction. So this cyclone is moving in this direction. So they are crossing this part. Like that they are saying So how they are saying? So how they know? With the help of the measurement called as wind vane. So the anemometer records wind speed while a wind vane measures the direction of the wind. So the unit of measurement is kilometer per hour or knots. So the unit of measurement, so they tell the speed of the wind in kilometer per hour or knots. Say for example 70 km per hour. So this cyclone will blow at a speed of 70 km per hour, 80 km per hour. So fishermen were not allowed to go for fishing, and the coastal people have to vacate their place. So like that they are saying the news So the speed of the wind is told in terms of kilometer per hour or sometimes in knots. So winds are generally classified into four major types. So the winds are generally classified into four major types. So they are planetary winds, periodic wind, variable wind and local wind. So planetary wind, periodic wind, variable wind, and local wind. So the rotation of the earth causes deflection of wind from their original path. Yeah, so the rotation of the earth causes deflection. So they affect the direction of wind. Okay, so that is called as Coriolis effect. Okay, so Coriolis effect means the rotation of the earth causes deflection of wind from their original path. Yeah, so this is called as Coriolis effect. So winds are deflected to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere, which is known as Ferrel's law. Okay, so the wind, they are deflected, so they change the direction. So to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so this is known as Ferrel's law. This was propounded by William Ferrel. He used Coriolis force named after C.G. Coriolis for proving Ferrel's law. Okay, so he used the Coriolis force, yeah, that is the wind, so that changes its direction, so to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This is called as Ferrel's law. So William Ferrel used Coriolis force effect, yeah, so which was named after C.G. Coriolis. Yeah, so C.G. Coriolis says that the rotation of wind causes the deflection of wind from its original path, which was called as Coriolis effect. So first, planetary wind. So planetary wind, the wind which constantly blow in same direction throughout the year are called planetary winds. Okay, so the wind which constantly blow in same direction throughout the year. Yeah, so this wind blow throughout the year in the same direction. Okay, so they are also called as permanent wind or the prevailing wind. Yeah, since they blow throughout the year in same direction, they are called as permanent wind or the prevailing wind. Yeah, so this wind include trade wind, westerlies, and polar easterlies. Okay, so the wind which constantly blow in the same direction throughout the year are called planetary winds. So they are also called as permanent wind or the prevailing wind. These winds include trade wind, westerlies, and polar easterlies. So trade wind, so the first planetary wind, trade wind. So trade wind blow from subtropical high pressure belt to the equatorial low pressure belt in both the hemisphere. So you know, so the latitude line, so 0 degree, that divides Earth into two halves. So the upper part is called as northern hemisphere and below the equator is called as southern hemisphere. Okay, so that's why. So this wind blows from subtropical high pressure belt to equatorial low pressure belt. So what do you mean by tropical region, temperate region and all? Yeah, so the 0 degree latitude line is called as equator. So from 0 degree to 30 degree, so both in north and south hemisphere, this region is called as, yeah, tropical region. Yeah, so from 30 degree to 60 degree, so both hemisphere, north and south, it was called as temperate region, and above that 60 to 90 degree was called as polar region. Yeah, so here the trade wind blow from subtropical high pressure belt. Yeah, so subtropical region, so where, so the high pressure was formed. Yeah, so high pressure means how it was formed. Yeah, whenever the temperature is low means, so pressure will be more. So whenever temperature is high means pressure will be low. Okay, so here the trade wind blow from subtropical high pressure belt to the equatorial low pressure belt. Okay, so normally, you know, so in equatorial region, so temperature is more. So because sun rays fall directly, so vertically. Yeah, so here temperature is more, pressure is low. Yeah, so the trade wind that blow from subtropical high pressure belt to equatorial low pressure belt. Yeah, so this wind they blow with great regularity, that is they blow regularly, yeah, and with great force and in a constant direction. Yeah, so they won't often change their direction, so they blow in a constant direction throughout the year. Yeah, so that's why, so these winds are very helpful to traders who depended on the winds while sailing in the sea. Since these wind blow in a constant direction with great regularity, so they are helpful for the traders who depended on the winds while sailing in the sea. Yeah, so in history you have learned that our Tamil people had trade contact with the Roman Empire and also Mesopotamian civilizations and all. Okay, so because of this wind, so which blow in great regularity and in a constant direction, so our Tamil people and our Indian people, Indus Valley people had trade contact with the western countries. Okay, so since these wind are helpful for the traders, they are named as trade winds. Yeah, so since the these wind, so which were helpful to traders, they are named as trade winds. Then westerlies. So westerlies, they are also the permanent wind that blow from tropical high pressure belt to the subpolar low pressure belt in both the hemisphere. So they are blow from tropical region to subpolar region. That is tropical high pressure belt to subpolar low pressure belt in both the hemisphere. So they blow from southwest to northeast in the northern hemisphere and northwest to southeast in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so this wind, the westerlies, they blow from southwest to northeast in the northern hemisphere and northwest to southeast in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so the velocity, that is the speed of the westerlies, became so vigorous and fast. So the velocity of the speed of the westerlies is very fast. Yeah. So they are called as roaring 40s at 40 degree and furious 50s at 50 degree and screaming 60s at 60 degree latitude. So at 40 degree, this wind was called as roaring 40s. At 50 degree latitude, this wind was called as furious 50. And at 60 degree latitude, this wind was called as screaming 60. So 40 degree, tropical region. Already I told you, 0 to 30 degree, so tropical region. Then 60 to 90 degree, polar region. So westerlies are the permanent wind that blow from tropical high pressure belt to the subpolar low pressure belt in both hemisphere. So they blow from southwest to northeast in the northern hemisphere and northwest to southeast in the southern hemisphere. Then polar easterlies. So polar, so the name itself indicates it blows in the polar region. So they are naturally cold wind. So polar easterlies are cold and dry polar winds that blow from the polar high pressure belt to the subpolar low pressure belt. Okay, so this wind that they blow from polar high pressure belt. So here the temperature is low. That's why pressure is more. And to this subpolar region, so when compared to polar region, so subpolar region, so temperature so somewhat high. Okay, but when you compare with the tropical region, means subpolar temperature is very low only. But when you compare with the polar region, so polar region temperature is less, so high pressure is seen. But in subpolar region, when compared to polar region, so temperature is somewhat more, so low pressure belt region. Okay, so these are the weak wind blowing from the northeast direction in the northern hemisphere and southeast direction in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so the polar easterlies, so they are weak wind which blow from northeast direction in the northern hemisphere and southeast direction in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so we have discussed the polar wind. So till now we saw planetary wind. So that three wind, so trade wind, westerlies and polar easterlies. So trade wind, so that they blow from subtropical region to equatorial region. Westerlies, they blow from tropical region to subpolar region. So polar easterlies, they blow from polar region to subpolar region. Okay, so these three winds blows in a constant direction throughout the year. So that's why these were called as planetary wind or permanent wind. Then the periodic wind. So the periodic wind or the seasonal wind that change the direction periodically. So the periodic winds are nothing but the seasonal wind. So they change their direction periodically. These winds are caused by the differential heating of land and ocean. So this wind they blow in a particular period. So that's why they are called as periodic wind. So they are seasonal wind and they change their direction periodically. So based on the time. So based on the time they change the direction. So not based on time. It was based on their the rotation of earth. Okay, and also the position of sun. So this wind will formed. Okay, so these winds are caused by the differential heating of land and ocean. So winds which reverse the direction, that is which change the direction with the change of season are called as monsoon. Okay, so which wind which change or which reverse the direction with the change of seasons are called as monsoon. So tropical monsoon wind of Indian subcontinent is best example. So in India, so often you heard during rainy season the southwest monsoon and the northeast monsoon. No? So now we are enjoying what monsoon? Actually this period is northeast monsoon. But as per meteorologist, now they are telling till now northeast monsoon have not yet started. So the time of southwest monsoon was from June to September. Then northeast monsoon is from October to December. Okay, so mostly they told us October, November. Okay, but we are now in October month, but not yet the northeast monsoon wind have started. Okay, so these are called as the monsoon wind. So they are the periodic wind. So I mentioned that the month. So they blow in a particular month only. So that's why they were called as periodic wind. So next, the variable wind. So apart from planetary wind and periodic wind, so we have to discuss about variable wind and local wind. So variable wind, it includes cyclones and anticyclones. So first, cyclone. So the term cyclone is a Greek word meaning coil of a snake. Okay, so the term cyclone is a Greek word which means a coil of a snake. So cyclones are centers of low pressure where wind from the high pressure area converge towards center in the spiral form. Okay, so cyclones. So if you see the cyclone, so the center part have low pressure. But the surrounding part have high pressure. So the high pressure area converge towards the center. So in this spiral form. So due to the rotation of the earth, the cyclonic wind in the northern hemisphere move in the anti-clockwise direction, whereas they move in clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so cyclones are nothing but they are the centers of low pressure where wind from the surrounding high pressure area converge towards the center. So if you take the cyclone means, so the center region is low pressure, so the surrounding region is high pressure. So the high pressure region converge towards the center in a spiral form. So due to the rotation of the earth, the cyclone wind in the northern hemisphere move in anti-clockwise direction, while in the southern hemisphere it moves in the clockwise direction. So India, so in which hemisphere is located? Northern hemisphere. So naturally, so India, so this movement of cyclones is anti-clockwise direction. So cyclones can be classified into three types. So they are tropical cyclone, temperate cyclone, and extratropical cyclone. So based on the latitude position, so the cyclones are classified as tropical cyclone, temperate cyclone, and extratropical cyclone. So first, tropical cyclone. So the name itself indicate. So they are blow in tropical region. That is between 0 to 30 degree latitude. So the tropical cyclones are known as cyclones in Indian Ocean, typhoons in the Western Pacific Ocean, hurricanes in the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific Ocean, bagus in Philippines, and Willy Willy in Australia, and typho in Japan. Okay, so the cyclones were called in different name. So say for example, so we referred as cyclones. But in West Pacific Ocean, if originated in West Pacific Ocean means it was called as typhoon. In Atlantic and Eastern Pacific Ocean, it was called as hurricanes. Then in Philippines, it was called as bagus. Then Australia, it was called as Willy Willy. Then in Japan, it was called as typho. So tropical cyclones often cause heavy loss of life and property on the coast and become weak after reaching the land mass. So tropical cyclones, so they cause heavy loss of life and property in the coastal region, but they became weak after reaching the land masses. Then the temperate cyclone. So temperate cyclones are formed along a front where hot and cold air masses meet in mid latitude, that is between 35 and 65 degree north and south. Okay, so temperate cyclones, they are formed along a front, so along a region where hot and cold air mass, so hot air, so that come from equator, cold air that come from polar region. So they meet in the mid latitude region between 35 degree and 65 degree north and south. So temperate cyclones do not become weak like the tropical cyclones on reaching the land. So temperate cyclones, so they do not become weak as like the tropical cyclones, okay, on reaching the land. So temperate cyclone commonly occurs over the North Atlantic Ocean, that is in the northwest Europe and Mediterranean basin. So Mediterranean basin temperate cyclones extend up to Russia and India in winter. So temperate cyclone. So I have told you that is in the tropical region. Yeah. But this temperate cyclone, so which formed in the Mediterranean basin, so sometimes extend up to Russia and India during winter season. Yeah. In India, it is called as western disturbance. Okay. So the Mediterranean basin temperate cyclones extend up to Russia and India in winter, and in India it is called as western disturbance. Then the third one, extratropical cyclone. So extratropical cyclone occur in the latitude between 30 degree and 60 degree in both the hemisphere. Yeah. So extratropical cyclone occur in latitude between 30 degree and 60 degree in both the hemisphere. They are also called as mid-latitude cyclones. Yeah. So these are called as, so extratropical cyclones are all called as mid-latitude cyclones. They collect energy from the temperature differences which are found in higher latitudes. Yeah. So they collect energy from temperature differences which are higher latitudes. So extratropical cyclones produced mild showers to heavy gales, thunderstorms, blizzards, and tornadoes. Because extratropical cyclones produce mild showers to heavy gales, thunderstorms, blizzards, and tornadoes. So tornadoes, nothing but a cyclone. Okay, so they bring heavy rainfall. Yeah, so with heavy thunderstorm. Okay, then the anticyclone. So anticyclones are the opposite of cyclones. Here an area of high pressure region is found in the center, surrounded by the low pressure on all sides. Yeah, so what is cyclone? Yeah, low pressure at the center, high pressure surrounding the low pressure. Yeah, but anticyclone, so the area of high pressure region is found in the center, surrounded by low pressure. So the wind from the high pressure region move outwards to the low pressure region in a spiral form. Yeah, so here the wind from the high pressure region move outwards, but in cyclone, so the wind moves like inward. Okay, so anticyclones are often accompanied by cold and heat waves. Okay, so the anticyclones are often accompanied by the cold and heat waves. Okay, we have discussed about cyclone and anticyclone. Yeah. So you often heard sometimes the name of the cyclones. Okay, so can you tell any one cyclone name? Yeah, last year, so the coastal region was worst affected. So we also gave the compensations, no? Yeah, so Gaja. Yeah, so how the name was given? Yeah, so the naming cyclones in the Indian Ocean began in the year 2000, and a formula was agreed upon in the year 2004. Yeah, so any cyclone so formed in the Indian Ocean region means, so a name was given to identify it. Okay, so the 8 countries in the region, Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. Yeah, so they contributed a set of names which are assigned sequentially whenever a cyclone storm develops. Yeah, so whenever there is a cyclone, so that formed in the Indian Ocean region means, that is Indian subcontinent means, so the 8 countries which I have told you, that is in the from Thailand to Pakistan. Okay, so Oman. Yeah, so it is in Saudi Arabia. It is near to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so they gave a list of name. Okay, so we are giving the name so in a order. Okay, so that's why we are giving name. Yeah, so like the Gaja cyclone, so then Nada cyclone. Okay, so like that we are giving some names. Okay, so coming if any cyclones that formed, that will form next means, so they gave a name. Yeah, so it is based on the agreement that was signed in the year 2004. Okay, then last one, local wind. Yeah, so the local wind are the wind that blow only in a particular locality for a short period of time. Yeah, so the local wind, so they are blow only in a particular locality for a short period of time. The effect of this local wind are experienced only in that particular area. Okay, so this wind effect can be experienced only in a particular area, such as land and sea breeze, mountain and valley breeze. Yeah, so they are mostly seasonal and have local names. Yeah, so the local winds, they are blow in a particular locality and for a short period. Yeah, so the effect is seen in that particular region only. Yeah, so say for example land and sea breeze, mountain and valley breeze, etc. Yeah, so they are mostly seasonal and they have local names. Yeah, so say for example it was called as Phone in Alps mountain region in Europe. Then in north coast of Africa, it was called as Sirocco. Then in North America, so in the Rockies mountain region, it was called as Chinook. Then in India, so this wind blows in Thar Desert. So where is Thar Desert located? Yeah, in Rajasthan. Yeah, so there it was called as Lu. Then Mediterranean Sea in France, this was called as Mistral. Then in Italy, Mediterranean Sea in Italy, it was called as Bora. Okay, so the local wind are wind that blow only in a particular locality for a short period of time. Okay, students, so today's class we have discussed about wind. Okay, so wind means so the horizontal movement of air along the surface of the earth. Yeah, so how can you measure the speed of the wind? Yeah, by using anemometer. Then the direction of wind can be measured by using wind vane. So what are the types of wind? Yeah, planetary wind, periodic wind, variable wind and local wind. Okay, then we discussed about the three planetary wind: trade wind, westerlies and polar easterlies. Then periodic wind, then variable wind. Yeah, so that is the cyclones. Okay, so cyclone so often affect the coastal region. Yeah, so nearly 20 years before, a super cyclone that hit Odisha on Friday 29th October 1999. Yeah, so was one of the most devastating and strongest storm to hit the Indian coast. Yeah, so in the year 1999, a super cyclone that hit the state of Odisha. Yeah, so the speed of the wind, so 260 km per hour, raged over 36 hours. Yeah, so the wind that blows at a speed of 260 km per hour. Yeah, so the wind caused a 7-meter tidal wave that swept more than 20 km inland. Yeah, so the wind caused a 7-meter tidal wave. Yeah, so the sea waves so rise up to a height of 7 meter. Okay, so and they brought a massive destruction and death to a number of coastal districts in the state of Odisha. Okay, so the cyclone so vastly affected the state of Odisha. Yeah, it is estimated that more than 10 million people in 12 coastal belt districts were affected by the cyclones, and more than 10,000 people lost their life. So the worst cyclone so ever faced by India recently. Yeah, so nowadays also India is facing some cyclones. Yeah, but the people were shifted already to safer zone. Okay, okay, students, so we have completed the lesson. Yeah, then we discussed the local wind and also the anticyclones. Okay, so today's textbook reading. Yeah, take page number 185. Yeah, read that variable wind, which includes cyclone, then the three classification of cyclone. So tropical cyclone, temperate cyclone and extratropical cyclone. Okay, then homework. So take page number 190. Yeah, fifth question. Mention the planetary wind system of the Earth. So take page number 184. So see the heading planetary wind. Yeah, write it fully. So the wind which constantly blow in same direction throughout the year are called planetary winds. They are also called as permanent wind or the prevailing wind. These wind include trade wind, westerlies and polar easterlies. Then next sixth question. Write a short note on trade wind and roaring forties. So trade wind, take page number 184. Yeah, trade wind heading. So trade wind blows from subtropical high pressure belt to the equatorial low pressure belt in both the hemisphere. They blow with great regularity, force and in a constant direction throughout the year. Then B, roaring forties, page number 184 and 185. So 184, westerlies. Westerlies are the permanent wind that blow from the tropical high pressure belt to the subpolar low pressure belt in both the hemisphere. Then come to next page, the first line. Here the velocity of westerlies becomes so vigorous and fast to be called roaring forties at 40 degree. So write these three questions. So fifth question is a single question, but sixth question, so they gave us A and B. So write these three questions and read it well. So thank you. Have a nice day.